I made a promise in the last Awolowo cap I created that I'll be creating a simpler version. Well, here is a simpler version, and you can do this under 15 minutes. I'll be leaving in the description box beneath this video of all the items and all the materials and measurement that I use in creating this simpler Awolowo's cap or Senator's cap or Ebuka's cap or whatever you call it. So let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Susan and I love all things DIY, craft, lifestyle, vlog, you just name it. Welcome to my vlog channel. The first thing I did was to measure my marco to be 25 inches in length and the width is 2.5 or 3 inches. Now from each of the side I'm going to measure 1 inch or 1 centimeter from each side. Now my head circumference is 23. My head circumference is 23, but I added that extra 2 inches for the extra allowance when we seal the cap or the band of the cap together. So my head circumference is 23 and the marco length originally is 25, and I remove 1 inch from each side. So I'm going to turn it like this. I'm going to gum this together. I'll glue this together using my Evostic gum, and it is very simple. Now my marco is 25 inches in length and 2.5 inches in width. Now the fabric I'm going to get, I'm using a velvet fabric. You can use ashoke or any fabric of your choice. So my fabric is 23.5. You know my head circumference is 23. 23.5 is the length of my fabric and 5 inches is the width of my fabric. 5 inches as the width, 23.5 as the length. Now I gave that extra half an inch for stitching allowance, So after getting my head circumference on my fabric, which is 23, then I added that half an inch. Now that half an inch I divided into two. So just to give it like a stitching allowance at both ends. So I use a biro, or you can use a fabric pen to do that. I use a regular pen to do this. So you can use a fabric pen to do that so that you know where you're going to stitch. And then I sewed this fabric together. So I'm just going to glue my Kariboard to create the band. That extra 1 inch allowance I left at both ends is what I'm going to glue together to create the band. One trick about using Evostic gum is when you apply Evostic gum on your Kariboard or anything you want to apply, so leave it to firm up a little bit. It shouldn't be wet, but it shouldn't be completely dried. Firm up a little bit and then you glue together and it will stick perfectly. So I just held this together with some peg. You can use any clip of your choice to hold it down together, and then that was it for the Kariboard. Then you can shape it to look like the Ebuka's cap or Senator's cap or Awolowo's cap. The Awolowo's cap is not round per se. It has this oval fitting that fits the shape of the head, so you want to do that for it. So I use my needle and thread to stitch this together. I use a matching needle and a matching thread. I'm going to leave a list of everything I use in this video. So I just stitch this together. If you watched any of my previous sewing videos, we see exactly how I do my stitching with my needle, and it's always very neat. If you are new to my vlog channel, welcome. Thank you so much for sticking and watching to this length. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell to help push my content to others who have the same passion as you have, and so that YouTube will know that yes, this person is sharing something relevant. And to all my OGs and my old subscribers, thank you so much for your support. And to the new subscribers, to leave me in the comment section where you have seen my video from, so that I can leave you a special virtual hug in my next video. Thank you so much. So now I told you my marco or the Kariboard. I'm using a Kariboard there. You can use marco, but Kariboard is preferable. It's not too thick like the marco. So for my Kariboard, it's 2.5 for the width. So, and my fabric, the width is 5 inches. Now I'm going to measure that 2.5 on my fabric because I want the Kariboard to be at the center. So I'm going to measure that 2.5, and I want to do some stoning on this. I want to add some embellishment and do some stoning and some little bead work. So it's very, very simple. So this is how I'm doing the stoning. I'll just cut off the part I need, place it on my fabric, then use a local iron. That is, I just place the iron. The iron is not connected to electricity. I just place the iron on the gas head, and then I place a cardboard on this embellishment that I already placed on my fabric. And then when the iron is a little bit hot, I'll place it on the cardboard that I already placed on my fabric. This is to prevent the fabric from getting burnt. Now, depending on the size of your stone, you might want to leave the iron longer, but press it down. So if you try to lift up the nylon, the stone usually comes with a nylon. This particular stone usually comes with a nylon. If you try to lift off the nylon, you see some stones still sticking to the nylon, just return it back and then press your iron on it, and it will stick to your fabric, and then you can peel off the nylon just like I did here. It is very, very simple. Now warning, don't make your iron too hot, especially if you're using small stones like this. It's going to allow the cardboard, look at what happens to my fabric, it's going to allow the fabric get too hot, and then your cardboard or your brown, you can use brown paper too, your cardboard or your brown paper will just reflect on your fabric. I'll clean this up later. So that is how I did the stoning. Now for the bead work, it's very, very simple. I just got this white bead, and I'm going to be stitching it like this. I'll try to explain it in my next voiceover. Now for the bead work, I'm not working with a pattern. I just want to attach the bead randomly to the stoning I did. So I got a matching thread, and I'm working with 4 beads at a time. I inserted my needle into the 4 beads. First of all, I inserted my needle first into the fabric. I tied it at one end, inserted it into the fabric so that the beads doesn't fall out. Then for the bead, I inserted 4 beads into my needle, and then I located where I wanted the beads to end. I stitched it there, then went inside and passed the needle into the fabric and brought it out to the good face of the fabric. Then I counted like 3 or 2 beads. I passed the needle in between those 2 or 3 beads, and then passed the needle into it and brought it out, and then passed the needle back into the fabric, that is the wrong part of the fabric, and brought it out. So that's just how I did it. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if this makes sense. I first of all inserted the needle after tying it at the end, inserted it into my fabric, pulled it out, then inserted that needle into 4 beads, and then I located where the beads stop. I passed the needle into my fabric and brought it out to make sure my bead is staying at the place I wanted it to be. Then I brought the needle out to the good face of my fabric, and then inserted it into 3 or 2 beads, and then back again into my fabric to secure the beads, and I tied it. So this is how I did the beading of this work. Like I said, I wasn't working with a pattern or a template. No, I just wanted to add some beads to it. So if I was doing a continuous bead work, I won't have to cut my thread. I'll just continue this. I hope in other videos I'll be able to show you how to do a continuous bead work on your fabric or on your headpiece or on your caps. Then once I was through, I wore that fabric into the band, the Kariboard band I created. Now you will notice that I left some spaces at both widths of my fabric. Yes, this is because I'm going to glue this inside the Kariboard. That's why I left those spaces, and that's why I said you have to do your measurement. You have to make sure you measure out, give extra inches for for this gluing. So I added my Evostic glue, I like to firm up a little bit, then those edges, those extra allowances I left at both sides, I then sealed up the band just like this. When doing this, you want to make sure you pull it well. You pull those allowances well. You want the edges to be very neat and very smooth. If you don't pull it well, it's going to have bulges at the edges and it's not going to be straight, it's not going to be smooth, it's not going to give a sharp edge. So I want you to give a sharp edge. You're going to pull the fabric at both ends, and I want to work with one side first before going to the other side to work. And that is just how to create the band for your Awolowo cap, or your senator's cap, or your Ebuka's cap, or Isiagu's cap. Now my band is ready. Next, I got my 1/2 inch foam. This foam is called 1/2 inch. It's not really 1/2 inch, it's 1/4 inch, but they call it 1/2 inch. When you go to buy, tell them you want 1/2 inch. Now you put the cap, the band of the cap on the 1/2 inch foam and you cut. Please don't give any extra allowance when you are marking. You mark first, maybe with a fabric pen or a chalk, and then when you are cutting, you now give the extra allowances. When you are cutting, you give the extra allowance. But when you are marking with your pen, don't give the extra allowance, because you want to know the exact shape of your cap. But when you are cutting the foam, you give an extra allowance. Then I place my foam on my fabric and I cut out with a little extra allowance too. My spirit tells me that you have not yet subscribed. Please now help my ministry. So if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, leave me a comment. Whatever is going to push this video to YouTube's algorithm, please just do it for us. We are family. Oh geez, thank you so much for your support. Now I applied my Evostic glue on my foam. You want to be very generous with this. Don't be stingy with this particular part. Don't be stingy with it. Apply it generously on your foam, and then you place that foam on your fabric, the one you cut out that has the same shape of the foam. You place it there, and when you do that, you make sure you smoothen it. You want it to be very smooth. I forgot to do that, and this gave me a little bit of rough edge at the end after I created it. So you want to make sure it's smooth. You want to make sure it aligns well with the foam. So that is how I did that. Once I was through with that, I got my band, the one I created prior to now. I applied Evostic gum to one end of the band. You want to make sure the part you're applying the Evostic gum, you apply the Evostic gum well. And then I got the foam that I created earlier. I got that foam, and then I'm going to push in the foam just like this. Now this is the part where you have to be very, very patient. You want to make sure your foam sits well in your band, sits well, and the side sticks well. So you want to take your time to arrange this part. Now if you notice any Evostic gum stain, don't worry, you can clean that easily with petrol or with methylated spirit or with alcohol or with kerosene. So whichever one you have, you can use that to clean off later to have a very neat job. So but you want to take your time to arrange this base well. You want to make sure your foam sits very well, and you press the sides well so that it sticks to the band. That's why we created the extra inches when we started. Now this Awolowo cap, very simple. It can be worn by ladies, it can be worn by men. You can put whatever accessories or embellishments you want to put on it. You can do beadwork, you can do needlework, you can put pattern of your choice, anything on it. So once I was through, it's time to get the lining. You want to cover the inside of the cap so that our work will look good and nobody will know our secret. So I just placed the cap on the lining and cut out just like this with an extra inches. I gave an extra inches, and I went into the cap and I added my Evostic glue. I applied my Evostic glue into the cap. I let the Evostic glue to be firm a little bit. Make sure when you're applying this Evostic glue, you're applying it to the base of the cap, that is that foam, that bottom. Apply it well, apply it well, be generous with it. Then I placed my lining into it and I make sure it's sealed well. Next, I got a cardboard. You can use cardboard. Don't use brown paper, it's not as thick as cardboard. So I got a cardboard. I measured the cardboard, the length of the cardboard. The width of the cardboard is 2.5, while the length of the cardboard is the head circumference of my cap, that is 23 inches. Now then I got a line. I'm trying to line the inside, the side of the cap. I got my lining. I didn't measure the line. I just placed my lining on the cardboard and then cut out with extra allowances at all sides. Then I applied Evostic glue to my cardboard. I placed it on my lining, make sure it's at the center of my fabric, and then I applied glue to the edges. I sealed it just like this. Just watch the video, it's quite simple. And that is how I did for the lining. Then I took my cap, applied Evostic glue to the sides. You want to make sure you apply it well to the side. Make sure you apply it well, trust me, and you need to take your time in doing this. Don't hurry, just do it and do a very neat job. And then I applied Evostic glue to the side of it. Allow it Evostic glue firm up a little bit. Always remember, when you apply Evostic glue to your fabric or to something you want to glue together, make sure it firms a little bit before you attach it or you glue anything to it. So I like to firm a little bit. Then I applied my lining, the one I created for the side, at the side of the cap. Now you want to take your time doing this. You will need clips or peg to help you to hold the lining down so that the glue sticks or hold very well. Once you are through with this, that is all. Just take a little foam and use any spirit you have, either methylated spirit or alcohol or kerosene or petrol, and clean off any gum stains. And if you want to embellish more, just embellish after you've done this. And add your label if you're selling out. I'm not selling this out, I'm making it for myself. So add a label if you're selling it out, or your logo, your brand tag, whatever you want to add. Put it in a clean nylon, and that's how to make this. That is just how to make this. Make sure your work is very, very, very neat. So that's all for me for today. Remember to check the description box beneath this video, where I'm going to leave a description of every item I use and the measurement of everything I use Also, if you have not still subscribed, please subscribe and support me. Now, one tip. I did a matching post with this particular Zara cap, and I'll share that in another video, so don't miss it. Bye for now.